Hello, so I'm here for a live question and answer session because it's time to talk today. And obviously, time to talk is all about encouraging us all to talk about mental health in order that we can support each other. And so I've been asking people to submit some questions to me and see if there's anything that you would like to know. And that's what I'm here for today. So if you are here, then please do feel free to say hello. And if you've got any questions, pop them into the comments box and we will take it from there. So I'm going to keep an eye on my iPad because sometimes it's easier to see the questions coming up on the iPad. But I've got a couple of questions that I've been asked already. And so I thought I would cover those to begin with. So someone wrote in and asked me about self-harm and was I going to do a video on self-harm. And what I'd like to say firstly is, obviously I'm not going to be the expert on all the different aspects of mental health, and what I might do is I might refer you to other resources if there's something I can't cover. And what I'll do, is particularly with the self-harm one, is because I've had time to sort of research it a bit before tonight, I'm going to put some links in as well to direct people to other sources of support. And so I'll let you know if I don't know the answer, because obviously I'm not perfect. I don't know the answer to everything. And we'll take it from there. Yeah, so this particular person wanted to know if I was going to talk about self-harm and also how a parent can deal with a child who tells them about self-harm and how you can have a conversation about it. So, I can imagine that if your son or daughter was to tell you that they were self-harming, it would be quite a shock to the system. And really, really difficult, because obviously we really care about our children, and so if they were to tell us that they were self-harming, our initial reaction would probably be one of upset and fear and shock. But it's actually really important, as much as possible, to try and be very calm and neutral. And I know that's a real hard ask when it's your child that's in trouble, but if they've got the courage to tell you about something like this, it really does help if we can put all our acting skills on and to be quite calm about it, really. And so try and be as neutral as you can. The other thing is it's really important. They might well show you what they've done. Obviously, it's quite important to check if they've cut themselves, that to see whether or not the wound needs treating, and to make sure it's not going to get infected, but also to treat any revelations of self-harm quite seriously, because it might be that the initial sort of shock of thinking that they're cutting themselves or something, but then when you look, you think, oh well, it's not that bad, and you almost sort of feel the relief might make you want to dismiss it or laugh it off. But of course for them, if they're seeing it as self-harming, that's the important thing. And if we're a bit dismissive, then they may well not tell us again because it doesn't feel safe to talk to us about it. And so it's really sort of trying to remain neutral, but also being as supportive as you can and listening to their story and taking them seriously, so that they feel safe to talk to us. Because if you're trying to tell someone something as important as that, you're really opening up and you're very fearful of what other people's reactions are going to be. And so therefore you're going to be quite nervous. And it's very easy if someone teases you or makes light of it or tells you off to just clam up, and they do need to talk about it. And the other thing to say is don't make any assumptions about why they're doing it. there's lots of different reasons why people might self-harm. It doesn't necessarily mean they're suicidal. They might be suicidal, but it doesn't necessarily mean they are. And so it's the most important thing really is to get them to talk and get them to tell you what's going on. But they might not be able to say the reason why they're doing it, and it might be a mystery to them. It can take a while once someone's sort of started talking about the reasons why they're self-harming. It can take them a while to work it out, and for a while for the behaviour to stop. So it is actually, you're in it for the long game really. There's no point telling them to stop. If you tell them to stop, it might actually have unfortunate consequences. So it might be that they try and please you, so they try and stop. So perhaps whatever the behaviour is about, it's usually something to do with cutting gives them a way of expressing themselves. So if they aren't self-harming, in a sense they're not expressing themselves, and it might just really build up, and then they might go to more extreme ways of expressing themselves. So they might also hide if you tell them to stop because they're feeling ashamed. So it's really important to just sit with that really difficult place of knowing that they're doing it, and that all you can do is really be there for them and listen to them, and obviously help them if they're willing to have professional help. The other thing that sort of came up, and I think this is really such a good thought, and I don't know about you, but I certainly found this when my kids were teenagers, is that it's far easier for them to talk to you if you're not looking at them face to face. And so I found the times where my children really opened up was when I was driving them somewhere, and that's when we'd really chat to each other because we weren't looking at each other. And there's something about that which I think really helps. And so quite often difficult conversations are ones that can happen on a car journey, which perhaps isn't the easiest thing for the driver, but in terms of the teenager, it can really help them. And also, Time for Talk suggests that, if you think your child is maybe self-harming, doing something like talking about some of the celebrities who talk about their own experiences of mental health problems, or if there's a relative with a mental health problem or a friend with a mental health problem, sort of talking about them might be a good way to lead into the conversation about self-harm if you think that's going on. But the most important thing we can do is to try and set our own reactions to one side. I read something else earlier today, and it was saying, the young person trusts you, but if you don't like what's on the outside, so if you react very badly to what they're showing you, they're not going to show you what's on the inside. And I thought that was a really good thought. So what's on the inside is actually what's causing the self-harming, and that's what we need to hear about. So it's very much a case of supporting the young person to be able to talk things through. And it might be that family isn't the right people for them to talk to, and perhaps somebody else, such as a counsellor, might be able to help. And so another thing that I thought might be helpful to talk about is about suicide as well, because that's something that we can be very fearful about if someone was to disclose to us that they were suicidal. And the most important thing again is to allow people to talk and to really listen to them. And there's a thought out there that, if we talk about it, it might make it more likely to happen. That's not necessarily true. To allow someone to talk about their suicidal feelings perhaps means that they'll feel supported, and it just might make that difference to them, that they don't feel so alone in the world. Obviously, if someone seems to be very much at risk, it's really important to refer them to, take them up to A&E if it's maybe a family member, or you can refer them to the GP. GPs will usually see them pretty quickly if they get a patient who tells them they're suicidal. They'll be seen pretty pronto. Also, obviously, there's Samaritans as well. But refer them to medical services if they really do seem to be in a place where they're likely to actually attempt to take their own lives. So that's obviously a really important thing. But a lot of people, the feeling of suicidal is just a desperate, they're so desperate at this point, they don't know how they're going to resolve their situation. They feel desperately bad about themselves, and so they feel the world would be a better place without them. So it's really important. Just somebody who will listen to them can make that difference. It can help them to know that they are important and that they are valued. And so I would encourage you to listen to people and to be open to talking about it if there's someone in your sort of immediate circle who's feeling like that. Something else came to mind then, and I haven't had anybody coming on and asking any questions, so I've covered the questions that I've had. So if there's anything else you'd like to know, then please do contact me on the Facebook message app, and I will put the details of the various websites that you can look at regarding self-harm. I'll put that in the comments box, so please do have a look at that. So thanks very much for joining me. Sorry, hi there, I can see you're here, Claire. Thanks for joining me. I'm just about finished now, so please do feel free to watch the replay. And I was just saying I'm going to post some stuff up in the comments box that might help. Okay, thanks very much then. Bye.